where you are all invited, and we will try really hard to take you with us to these opportunities for learning other places, cultures, languages, mostly meeting another entrepreneurs, meeting people that are working in the same challenges or projects, similar projects that you are. So we really want to make community, to make a forum and association, and to have you in this session and in other ones that will follow. I share the screen just to show you a little bit of our program. Hopefully you are seeing this. Okay, today's session is by our partner Ruralidade Verde in Portugal. This is the initial name, title. We are going to deal with rural biodiversity, entangling people, territorial traditions, and sustainability. Cultural plus axis or interest focus are the rural regions facing demographic challenges, the entrepreneurship and education for adults, the cultural heritage always, and how to learn the learning villages, learning territories, how to learn all together to succeed in our projects or to get better skills and abilities for our professional development. So these are the three first sessions. They will be each month, and these are the next ones: digital marketing and data for business and promotion, local administration and governance in rural areas, international project management. This will be more or less the schedule. We don't have the dates still concrete, so we can put them when they have more quorum through a doodle, for example, as we have tried to do this time. We have our conferences. This one we had it in Portugal. These are some little workshops we are going to organize and hold in Extremadura. And we offer also through the project, in the framework of the project, personal coaching sessions for your particular interests or particular tasks where we can be helpful. The schedule continues with a monthly workshop or webinar if you want. We will try to do them semi-presential so we can gather in some place and connect all from there with the partner is coordinating the module. These are some congresses we are trying to organize also about the place of art, the place of literature in the landscape or in rural regions. In March, we will hold our hopefully presential international conference in Greece with this an international week. The conference will deal with food and heritage, agriculture. We hope we can meet with all culturales some months also, just to know your progress, just to know your worries, your progress in the Cultural Plus program, whatever. We will hold another international week, this time in Portugal in September 2021. And we also want to incentivize your participation and your educational trajectory with some prizes that we will give almost at the end of the project. we will be speaking about these prices also more in the future. So we hope we can hold also an international week in France in March 22, and the last one in Italy in June 22. So this is a long project and a long way to go all together, hopefully to learn and share knowledge all together as we are going to do today with Pluralidad Verde and Ana Sofia firstly. So I give you the voice. I stop sharing also my screen.
So, thank you, Martin. And yes, so today we start our learning activities. This is the first, what we propose is it's not exactly something that we talk and you listen, not at all. So what we propose it's a mixed thing, and that is why also we asked you to register to Miro. And I will send, I have already put here in the chat, but when we start using it, I will send it again so that I have to give access to every one of you to Miro like here in Zoom, but this is for the second part after the coffee break. So to make this a bit more interactive. So the idea in our theme is a bit general, is to have an exchange. So we will share some of our experience and opinions, and of course some of our knowledge, empiric and also technical and scientific, and share with you and have your feedback about your experiences and what happens in your areas. Maybe we do a roundtable. I know at least for the Spanish colleagues, most of them we know either from the meetings or when they came here in Portugal, but nonetheless, it would be good. We have other colleagues here. So I will start. Martin already did. I will start after Martin. I'm Ana Sofia, and I'm from Ruralidad Verde. Ruralidad is a small company located in Villamarim, which is a peri-urban area from Vila Real, the capital of district of the Vila Real district. So me and my husband, we are the entrepreneurs of Ruralidad Verde. We are both linked to farming. I'm a zootechnical engineer and he is a forest engineer. He will join us later because he's with our youngest son who is still sleeping, so we had to manage. So I said, I go, you stay, and then we change. When he's awake, then we are both, but for now only me. We have a farm where we do organic production of fruits, and Ruralidad is a spin-off company from the University of Trás-os-Montes in Alto Douro, where we are mainly focused on promoting rural development and rural practices. So of course this cultural project is perfectly within our scope. So maybe I will go through the list of persons here. Then after is Jazz. I'm not sure who is Jazz. So,
good morning.
Okay, thank you. Okay. The floor is yours.
I'm Jet Spansberg. I'm Dutch, but I live already for almost 20 years in Portugal. Me and my husband, we have a small bed and breakfast in Provenzende in the Douro Valley. And we have also a wine selling company. That's very short, but that's what we are.
Thank you, Flor. Alejandro? Oh.
Hello? Hello?
Hello.
Hello, well, I'm Alejandro. I work with Jose, who is already also here. We are working in a project called Plena Moon, which is an event that is celebrated every full moon, in which we celebrate a cultural event with music, dance, painting, all that. And well, it's been celebrated during the year 2019, 2020, you know what's going on. So it's, we have to be on the net, on the social networks, but not in physically, but it will come back. And I have a presentation, but I don't know if it's the time to show it, or we can wait for a bit.
Martin is saying maybe it's a good moment to show the video, so I guess that that's it.
Okay, maybe it's a good moment to show. Sorry, I haven't.
Can you share your screen, Alejandro?
Yeah.
Okay. So now I know who is Jazzy Jose, who had already talked. Now I see your name under the. I'm sorry.
Can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay, I need to find it.
You first have to open your film and then go to this screen and tick it, because now we only see your your screen, so we don't see the video. So you have to get out of partilhar
Okay.
and restart clicking on the video. First you have to open the video.
All right. So now you are not seeing. I click the video now, and I share. Oh. I share. How can I share?
The green button.
Click now. Now you can see it?
No.
Oh. Hi. I didn't.
Go back.
Okay. Share. Now.
Yeah. Great.
Sorry about the noise, because we have some building or something.
You can say to the microphone, share video noise. Or to the video, there is something you can say that he has to put the sound, because otherwise we don't hear anything. Configurations of video, I think it's that.
Yeah. Like this. Maybe now. Tell me if you hear the sound.
Not yet. Microphone.
No?
It's hearing, yes.
Okay. So I
For sure.
press the play button.
Yeah.
I don't hear anything.
No?
I mean, we hear.
Sí.
Yes, thank you.
Martín, ese es Martín.
So that's it.
Yes,
Okay.
it's very,
Now
very.
you have to
Sorry.
stop sharing
Yeah.
on the top of your screen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect. Yeah, so we are, it's a very interesting activity, and I think with the high potential to be replicated within our community. At least I would like that a lot. And also Sandra, our Villa Marin, you talked with her, she was also very interested in that, so for sure we could have an interesting thing here. So next, Celia, I'm just following the list of participants, okay? This is no.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. I'm Celia Rodriguez, and I'm here in the name of Torolgaz. Torolgaz, I'm a student. I study law and international relationships, so cultural is a very good project to apply my my knowledge, and that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Celia. Dimitra? Oops.
Dimitra, can you please put on your phone your microphone, the symbol on the left side down of the screen? You can click on it and then you can speak. Dimitra? Otherwise, Dimitris?
Yeah, Dimitris.
Can you click on the left side of the screen on the microphone symbol?
Maybe Konstantinos can help also to introduce.
Dimitris is writing.
Just sent a
Perhaps he
message.
cannot
I
talk.
don't know if Dimitris have some microphone, have the ability to speak. Yes, Dimitris sent several messages. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, can you write? Can you present yourself by writing a phrase, Dimitris?
Yeah.
Dimitra?
And then we read it. And then Cleopatra.
Yes.
Constantinos, maybe you go
Yes,
ahead
yes,
while
yes.
Dimitris writes.
Dimitris is a computer scientist and a farmer as well. He has several fields with crops with pears and other fruits, and he has a small enterprise with computer services. So it combines the computer science with the agriculture. Is a local actor, is Farcadonian, and is a very good friend of mine. Dimitra is an employee in the social, in the community center for the vulnerable people of our municipality. So the mission of Dimitra is to the consulting for the vulnerables, how to make themselves more, how to protect themselves, and to the capacity building for the vulnerables in order to have better future. I don't know if Dimitris or Dimitra have some way, some other way to communicate with us. Dimitris sent us several messages. I don't know if Dimitra want to add something, because now is a working time for both of them. And I don't know if Dimitra right now has some vulnerable in the office, and she has not the ability to add some right now something else.
Okay. So, okay, we have still now Cleopatra. Thank you, Konstantinos.
Yeah, hello.
Hi.
I represent here Time Heritage. He's a little company in Athens, active since 2003 in the field of cultural heritage management and enhancement through interdisciplinary actions. The aims to developing new and innovative ideas in a European networking environment, and focused on cultural as a factor for sustainable development of local communities. You can find us also in internet. We have a site, also in Facebook.
Thank you, Cleopatra. And then we have a Greek colleague here that I cannot tell the name because it's...
Iliopoulos.
Good morning. This is Iliopoulos.
Okay, now I know.
Okay, to all. My name is Vasiliki Yona, and I'm contacting you from Iria in Argolis, a small village in Argolis in Greece. I'm an archaeologist, and at the same time, I'm trying to be a producer of organic farms. And also, I would like to make a new start in agrotourism, and not only combining culture, farming, history, and in general, all the way of living in a small village. Thank you for thank you for letting me be in your company. I'm sure I will learn many things from your experience, and I would like to thank you for this.
Thank you, because obviously you are in the right place.
I'm sure.
We want to learn from you, not the other way around.
Thank you so much for this. Thank you.
We have also other archaeologists, don't we, Veronica? Yes, Gerardo has joined us. So, and I will pass him now the word, the last one. Gerardo?
Hi.
Hi. Very low.
Very low.
Yes. Very far away.
Well, my name is Gerardo Vidal Gonçalves. I'm an archaeologist from the University of Évora, and we have a small organization here from Vila Real. It's a small village named Garganta in São Martinho de Anca Sabrosa.
Gerardo, can you put your sound even louder? I can hear you, but it's very soft, very soft.
And now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Now it's good. It's a microphone. It's not so good. So my name is Gerardo. I'm archaeologist from Évora University, and now I'm working in preventive archaeology in Oporto and another place in Portugal, and also we have a small organization. The name is Associação História e Arqueologia Sabrosa. It's in a small village in the municipality of Sabrosa. Name is Garganta. It's a very traditional village, and we work about archaeology, history. Now we finished the archaeological map of the municipality of Sabrosa, and we try to put some historical and archaeological information in the papers and small projects like and now we're working in another places like Lourinhã. It's a small village, a small yes, a small village near of Lisbon. Well, and thank you very much for inviting me to the.
Perhaps, Gerardo, you also have to tell about the wine you are producing.
Ah, the wine, yes. So we, in the last year, we developed a small project in the area of the experimental archaeology, not the traditional one, but experimental archaeology with relationship with a kind of savors. I mean, a Roman wine from an ancient recipe. Well, it's two recipes. One from the classic era, it's Roman times, and another one from the medieval age. And we try to make an experimental work with Mediterranean products like honey, like wine, of course, like pepper, and it's try to put to the recipe the old products and the measurement of these products in the old recipes. So it's very interesting because it's another kind of work with experimental archaeology. So thank you.
Thank
Do
you.
you have some question about this to explain?
So we can have a lot of fun in a plenimoon night with ancient wine, correct?
Yes, yes.
Perfect. Okay, so I think we've gone through all the participants. If I forgot anybody, yes, a perfect combination, I would say as well. If I forgot anybody, please just shout and hopefully we will hear you.
I would like to say something.
Oh, sorry.
I completely agree with Alejandro because Farcadona has not some specific identity as a region, as a territory. So last year, since last year, I'm trying to create a distinctive identity to Farcadona, and I have achieved for the Farcadona to gain the label Healthy Farcadona directly from Brussels as a healthy territory, because we are in a Urbact project, Healthy Cities. So just a few months ago, we gained this label, Healthy Farcadona. So I'm trying to build in this brand name, Healthy Farcadona, and to combine all that Alejandro said, like the healthy products, healthy the well-being, the way of living in this area, the products, and all. I'm trying to create an image for all this as a basket of healthy things: culture, cultural heritage for mental health, healthy green areas, healthy mountains, healthy meat. I don't know if you understand me. I'm trying to build in this brand name, Health Arcadona, from all the potential aspects and perspectives.
Yep.
And for this reason, I think Alejandro's presentation is very interesting.
Thank you, Konstantinos. So maybe, oops, no, I need to do this. Maybe now I share with you very shortly. So this is what we have thought. I mean, you received this. We are a bit now off time, but no worries. So very shortly, I will start because Philippe is not here. So I will start with, you know, production systems and the importance of biodiversity, and then Philippe will come and talk a bit about tenure management, and then we would, you know, work and start brainstorming together with Miro. So sharing again. Okay. Okay, now I need to put it here. Is it working? Are you seeing it?
Perfectly, perfectly.
Perfect. Okay, so again, I will do the second part, and I would start, of course, and again, this is, please interrupt me whenever you want, because the idea is for it to be interactive, okay? I will try, and if I start to be, please stop me. I will try not to be very specific and technical, and I will not go into very technical details of animal production. That is not the idea. So what we want to present you is a bit of our example with, and the images and the examples I will talk about is of local production systems of where we live here in Vila Real, mountain production systems. And it would be interesting also to have afterwards your feedback on your areas, how it works. And I will talk about them, of course, very generically, okay? I will not go into details, but of course, if you want any further information that I'm not giving you, please ask, okay? So I will start. See,
just a little thing. To be aware of the people that may be coming in the...
Veronica is already co-host, and I guess I put you already. If I didn't, I will do it.
If Veronica is in there, perfect.
Yeah.
Or you can also name me.
Yes, I will add you. Just.
Thank you.
Just in case. I thought I already added you as a co-host. No, but I didn't.
While you are doing it and checking it, I confirm that I was co-host because I let Gerardo enter, so it works.
Okay, so Martin, you are now already co-host, hopefully. Okay, so first, biodiversity. Of course, we all know more or less what is biodiversity. And domestic biodiversity, it's interesting to bear in mind that it's not only animals, plants, domestic, but also their immediate wild relatives. So for example, we would consider, although they are not domestic, but we could consider, for example, wild boars as domestic biodiversity. Why? Because they are a part, at least here in our local area, they are a part of the ecosystem and they engage with domestic animals and with our areas. Also other animals that we can also consider as domestic biodiversity. Of course, we will only focus on the domesticated animals that we use for production use. And specifically, we will talk a bit more and And in this case, you have here, for example, this is Bizaru. Bizaru is a local pig breed from the north, very adapted to the conditions. This is Churra, the Terra Quente, sheep breed, Maronesa, cow. Here is Brevia, a local goat, and here is Garrano. Not actually local, because Garrano is more from Jerez, but we are starting to have a lot of Garranos also free ranging here in our mountains. And these animals and these productions are usually very free. So, I mean, animals free range in the areas sometimes, not attended. And I would just like to, of course, we're not going into this scientific paper, but this was a paper, it's not new, okay, it's from 2003, but they made a case study of rural development plans, and they cross-linked the rural development plans that we all live in rural areas, and we know that these plans influence at least the funding and the type of supports that rural areas have, to the biodiversity conservation rules and laws and whatever. And it was interesting that they found that by linking this, the rural development plans, with the FAO database of endangered breeds, they observed that many breeds that are in risk of extinction, according to the FAO, are not included in the rural development plans. And these plans are mostly devoted to preserving local cattle and sheep breeds and leaving out other biodiversity. And by this, what do we mean? We mean mainly vegetable biodiversity, which is interesting because indirectly, by keeping and promoting herbivore animals, we are indirectly also ensuring that some vegetable biodiversity is kept if we manage to have a production system in balance with the environment. Also, in many cases, they observed that despite the European Union support to farmers, and this supports, if any of you have animals, you know that we farmers, we have a support per animal, especially if it's a local breed, then this financial support is higher. But even with supports, it is still unprofitable to rear local breeds, okay? So, and despite the fact that this is from 2003, we still observe this. So despite of having specific supports for local breeds, it is complicated to make it profitable, okay, in rural areas to have local breeds. So when we think about animal production, we should remember that it is most of all an economic activity, okay? It has to be, otherwise it disappears. And that is why a lot of these traditional and local breeds are endangered, because it is not profitable, and so farmers change and do other things. So we produce food, okay, for humans, and feed for animals. We produce meat, milk, eggs, animal transformed products, and here I'm talking about, you know, sausages, prosciutto, etc. And yogurts, cheese, and we also produce, so it also produces animal feed. Of course, with legal limitations and restrictions, we cannot use animal subproducts in animal feed, especially in herbivorous. For example, we cannot use animal flours, what we call animal, coming from, you know, all the residues and subproducts of slaughterhouses. We cannot use it in animal feed, in cows, sheep, or goats, but we can use it in carnivore feed. Okay, so we can use for dog food, for dog feed, or for cat feed, or even for fish feed. Okay, we can have this type of circularity approach. Caramba, esta porcaria. And of course, other products like skin fiber, and here in fiber we have hair, wool, horn, work, Okay, work is important for these systems. Manure as well, and of course ecosystem services that now we are starting to hear. I'm not sure if you are aware, but within this new CAP reform and the new CAP, it is predicted that we will have what they call eco regimes. So in some way, going away from supporting by head. So in currently, if I have 2 cows, I receive a support for each cow. And eventually we will go from this type of financial support to a support that will support what type of ecosystem services does my cow provide. Okay, so it's a different way and more linked actually to this thematic that we are approaching. And of course, as again, we need to see this as an economic production, otherwise it will just disappear. Okay, and then we have the cultural activity part. So we maintain or preserve animals production systems that have a living rural space, a rural population identity. They are very linked to cultural references in rural areas. They are a reference for urban populations, or should be. If they are not, they should be. What we see eventually now is that there's the biggest, an increasing going away from urban populations to these rural activities and traditions. And this is not good because it helps them to disappear. And of course, there's food production with local gastronomy, local breeds, practices, cultural heritage. I mean, I put here some examples, and these are ancient, okay? This is what we call fumeiro. We are doing it now. I've been doing it for the past 2 weeks. I have a lot of them because we have pigs, and we killed 2 pigs and we transformed them into sausages and chorizo and whatever. And this is, I mean, we do it like they do it, I wouldn't say 100 years because now we do it more quickly, but the base ground is the same. Also, for example, and I really like this photograph, this is, I'm not sure if you are aware, but for example, the Maronesa breed, they were the cattle that would traditionally bring from the Douro region, the wine pipes to Régua to put them in the boats. So they are very linked. Of course, it now has disappeared. This doesn't exist anymore, only for picture purposes, but not even for picture purposes. This completely disappeared. And this activity is very linked, to local breeds. And these local breeds represent a genetic preservation of biodiversity. So most of these local breeds, and this is not only for Portugal, okay, this is worldwide, they represent genetic resources that are highly valuable because these animals, they are not improved. So they maintain, some of them maintain a genetic heritage that is really, really ancient. Okay, some of them are very close genetically to their, the most ancient animals that we have record of. And this is very, very important. So these are a genetic pool of genes that humanity has that can allow us actually, in technical and scientific terms, to, if we have a problem, we have genes in these, breeds that could help us with the technology that we have now, rearrange and go and get some genetic that we lost, some genes that we lost. And another thing that these animals have, and is of course related to this genetic biodiversity, is the adaptation capacity. Okay, so they usually are very adapted to the area and to the climate and to the surroundings that they live. And this is very important because they can produce high quality foods from low quality inputs. So by feeding on low quality feed and by grazing in areas that other animals, other breeds, more advanced or more improved cannot. And also, if we look at disease and parasite resistance, they are better at that than improved breeds. So this is also an interesting thing. And if we look at it as a strategic activity, it's also very interesting because we managed to occupy territory that otherwise would be desertified, and we are seeing that throughout Europe. And this is one of the reasons why we are here. Animal production, breeding these type of animals in these type of systems manages to ensure some territory occupation and grazing and etc. Usually having a production system, we manage to permanently and organize occupied territory. I don't know who is making some, maybe if you could turn off your mic, it would be better. Sorry for that. And this is directly linked to fight and preservation, not preservation, I'm sorry, prevention, okay, of desertification and also of fires, forest fires that we have. And also this allows us to keep human activity in these areas and also vegetable and animal biodiversity. Again, animals, especially if herbivores, they will graze on certain areas, they will graze certain plants, and it is scientifically proven that having animals grazing on areas improves and increases the biodiversity of these areas. And we are talking about vegetable and insect populations that actually thrive and improve. So the idea of having animals grazing and they will eat everything and destroy it is completely wrong. Of course, this will happen if we have too many animals in a small area, but if we do it right, we will actually be able to improve and increase biodiversity, direct and indirectly, okay? Because then again, small invertebrates thrive, and with them birds thrive, and with birds, higher birds thrive, and etc., etc. So it's, the ecological chains going up. And again, if we consider it, as we should, not necessarily the ministers of agriculture of our countries do, but it would allow us to decrease the importation of feeds for animals and food for us. It would contribute to the economic balance and equilibrium of the import-export scale. And of course, it will allow us to have a strategic reserve of food and feed for us and for our animals. And if we do it, and now specifically to our traditional production systems, they consider all the production chains, because usually they are linked to short circuit chains. And we saw this with the COVID pandemic. It was actually a surprise for us, for me and for Philippe, because we were expecting it to go the other way around, but unfortunately it didn't. I'm not sure in your countries, but eventually it was the same situation. But here, what the COVID pandemic and the lockdown gave us was an increase of the dependence of high market surfaces, supermarkets and hypermarkets. They continue to work and they continue to sell, and short circuits, restaurants closed, small meat shops closed. And what this made was most of local producers were kept with their animals, because, meat shops and restaurants were closed. So nobody wanted to buy piglets for the restaurants. Nobody wanted to buy meat for the meat shops because they were closed. On the other way, big supermarkets, they kept on going and they kept open. And, people just went there because it was, in the beginning, the only thing that was open. And this was terrible for this, this short circuit chains, which actually came as a surprise, because at least here, there's a big go for short circuit chains. So we should eat local, produce local, etc. But basically it's just talk. because that didn't happen. So it was a hard blow for these production systems, at least here in our area. It was. They have, these systems managed to have an ecological balance with the environment. They are, and I could be very criticized for saying this technically, but it is my opinion, and technically and personal opinion, that they respect better animal welfare, because animals are more close to their natural way of being. Not that other types of systems are unnatural, no, but they are, not so close to their natural environment. Never forget that these are domestic animals. They need humans, okay? So they need us to feed them and to help them if there are no grazing, if it's raining, or if they need us. They need our help because they are domestic. They are not wild animals. If we don't give them shelter or food, some of them might eventually die. So it's different to have a domestic or a wild animal, considering welfare, and we should keep that in mind. We produce these animals. We like them, but they have a purpose, which is to produce something. These traditional systems, of course, they need to comply with the legislation, and they do. And we can have full confidence, sanitary confidence, and human health and animal health on these animals, because it is a legislation and they comply with it. So the consumer can be sure that this is a quality product. And of course we will have, because of the breeds, because of the production system, because of the feeding, we will have distinct flavors of this meat, of these products that we produce. So these production systems are adapted to all these statements. And usually, my God, what happened here? I'm sorry for this English, it's not very well written. Usually respecting local environments and cultural identities, and very linked to traditions. And this is something that's interesting. Generally, and of course not going into very technical details, a production system, what we call the production system, is everything that surrounds and that encompasses the things that we do to the animals, okay? And we consider a production system, our production unit is the female, of course. And so this is horses, but it could be cow, sheep, or whatever, because of course it will depend on the gestation time at whatever. But what we have is that we want to have, females giving birth, and then we will have a period where they are lactating, and this is milk production, okay? And females, animals will eat, and this is the curve of intake, what the female eats. And you see there's a difference here. So milk production is always higher than the amount that the animals eat. And this makes live weight of the animal decrease. Okay, it's normal because they are in negative balance. They need a lot of nutrients to produce milk to feed their cub, but they cannot eat as much. It's the same with us humans. That's why if we lactate, we will more rapidly lose our body weight, which is physiological. It will happen, and then the tables turn after what we call the milking peak. Milk production decreases, and then we will have feed intake following this, and then we have live weight of the animal going up. Okay, and somewhere in the middle we will get this female impregnated again, and then we will have live weight of the cub until the next birth. Okay, so this is a production system. Everything that surrounds this, feeding, sanitary conditions, housing, genetic, the crossbreedings that we do, choosing the male, choosing the female, etc. It's all surrounding this. Okay, and then of course we can look after weaning. We can look only at the cub, and then the cub is no longer a cub, is a a cow that we will fatten, or a pig that we will fatten to slaughter, or whatever, but this is the base, and all surrounds this. And concerning traditional systems, we have to join these curves, all of these curves, okay, with this one, which is herb production or pasture production, okay, which is different between autumn, winter, spring, or summer, and of course with the areas. So this is a traditional pasture production curve for our local conditions, but for example in Açores, it's completely different. So it will depend on the amount of rain, on the amount of temperature, sunny days, etc. So we match this, we need to match this. And this has been done since ancient times, okay? Since ancient times that we do this. Now we have more knowledge and we do it eventually a little bit better. When we look at traditional systems, this is exactly what we do. So we link these two things and we manage. When usually we get females to give birth when we have more availability of feed for the animals. So they will give birth here where they have a lot of grass and a lot of food to eat, and to minimize that difference between live weight. That means that when we are highly dependent on this curve, we will have births at a certain time. Of course, concerning this is more for herbivores, obviously, cows, sheep, goats, horses. Pigs don't need this, okay, because they don't graze only. So for pigs, this is not dependent on this. So entangling these two is very interesting. And when we look at the data and we observe what happens, what is happening in the areas, this is exactly what we see. So in certain times of the year, and this is pictures from Alvadia up in the mountain, in certain times of the year, we see the cows grazing in lower areas, okay, where they have, at this time of the year, good quality food. This is what we call lamaners, and they are grazing here. And this would be, in our place here, this would be between March and May, okay? They will be eating here. Why? Because there are no food in the mountain, because we are coming from winter and vegetation is regenerating. And of course in the mountain what we have is this, it's not exactly grass, so it is still regenerating. So, and they need food, so they are in these lower areas. Once summer starts to come and we start to have a bit more food here and their requirements go lower because milking is already going down, they will leave these areas and they will go up into the mountain and eat in these bush areas. And what is happening to these lamaners? They will be kept for growing hay, okay? The fact is that when animals are grazing, they are selecting some plants. And what we have here is from hay that comes from these areas. We can have, just to give you an example, we can have more than 100 different vegetable species in this hay, okay? Because this is biodiverse pastures. And of course, the forage that comes from it is also. So to get more than 100 in some cases, different vegetable species in forage coming from these areas is, it's a treasure, both nutritionally and biodiversically speaking, okay? And at the same time, they will be eating also in these areas and they will be keeping these areas clean. So reintroducing large herbivores with the purpose of promoting grazing is actually an important way to keep pasture areas and to graze also bush areas. And they are again linked to production, traditional production systems and ecosystem services. I'm sorry. This type of management only happens, in fact, in these production systems, okay? If we have a more efficient, if you want, production system, we cannot move animals from one side to the other. We cannot be dependent on the vegetation curve. We need to always give them the maximum so that they will produce more. So you see the difference here. In these systems, we don't do that. We don't give them always. We try to give them what they need, but we always adapt to what nature gives. Okay, so this is a more give and take situation. Just for you to have an idea, and I'm sorry it's in Portuguese, but I will give it. This is, we are comparing just for you to see how these herbivores, and this is bovines, goats and sheep, equines, sheep and goat, and this shows the overlap of feeding behavior. Okay, so basically what we have here is that and this is in savanna areas. Okay, equines and bovines overlap what they eat. So basically they eat the same. But if we put goats and cows, you know, they eat completely different because they only overlap this. If we go to mountain areas, these are the results. So bovines and, for example, equines and bovines, again, they will overlap a lot. Goats and bovines, not that much. Equines and sheep, a little bit. Equines and goats, not that much. What does this gives us? This gives us the information, and a precious one actually, that I can and should use these animals for different purposes. For example, if I have an area that, you know, I want to clean, I want to clean. Why? Because it's, you know, filled with, the grass is too high and I want to clean it, but I only have one horse, but my neighbor has 2 sheep. I can join them both because at this time they will eat the same. So if I put my horse with his sheep, I will clean the area faster, okay? But on the other hand, or cattle, but on the other hand, if it's the other way around, I don't want them to eat, I can choose different species. And this type of management, we do it a lot, and we have been doing it in pilot experiences here around. We call it pilot because it's not scientific. It's not scientific work, it's technical work, because we have an area and we have neighbors, we have animals, they have animals, and we are using our animals, you know, to do this type of experiences and to see. For example, here I have fruit trees and I have the grazing area below the fruit trees. And depending on the type of the year, I will put different animals in there, ensuring that it is always clean. There is only one time of the year where I need to use mechanic cut, which is in July. Why? Because the dry grass, they don't like it that much, and it keeps and it stays, and I need to cut it. But the rest of the year, I manage to keep the area clean without using anything else but animals. Okay, so this type of feeding behavior is interesting as for this. And here we see the inclusion of bush areas, namely Caluna vulgaris, Ulex europeus, and the green one is herbs, you know, grass, and the yellow and the blue one are bushes, and this, tojo. Incredibly, they will eat this, okay? So goats and horses will eat this, and they will manage to keep these clean. And this is also interesting if we want to use it, for example, to do this, okay? This was after 2 weeks of heavy pasture. We cleaned an area which is undercover. So it was, in this part we had pasture, and here it was, you know, the herbs that grow below the trees. And 2 weeks, in this case, it was not with horses or cows, it was with donkeys. 2 weeks, 5 donkeys, 3 hectares. They completely cleaned everything, okay? That was the objective, to clean everything. But if we don't want to clean everything, if we want just to manage and to keep it under control, we can also do it, okay? We just need to manage the feeding behavior of the different species with this. And empirically, people that traditionally breed, they do this empirically. They do this because they see, they know empirically. And this type of knowledge is very important not to be lost, okay? I will give you an example, and just to end, of the Maronesa breed, okay? And it's a film. It's okay. It's about 9 minutes, but it has the part of the cultural identity, and it goes from from farm to fork. So I think it would be an interesting movie to see. I'm not sure if you are seeing it now. Maybe not. I will do it like this. Peraí. Now you see it. I will talk throughout of it sometimes just to translate. So this is the Maronesa breed, okay, and this is actually a very ancient breed concerning genetic biodiversity. I don't produce Maronês, so I'm not selling my product.
A raça maronesa é uma raça autóctone, criada no centro-norte de Portugal. Evoluiu ao longo de milhares de anos a partir do Auró, o boi selvagem que povoou a Península Ibérica. Foi a Serra do Marão que lhe deu o nome, mas a maronesa é hoje criada nos maciços montanhosos das serras do Alvão e da Padrela. Sua zona de criação estende-se pelos concelhos do distrito de Vila Real e pela maioria das freguesias dos concelhos de Amarante, Celurico e Cabeceiras de Costa. Esta raça destacou-se durante séculos na função de trabalho, cumprindo com zelo todas as tarefas agrícolas, tanto no seu solar de criação como nas regiões vizinhas do Barroso ao longo da terra. Como exemplo destas tarefas, encontramos o transporte de matos para a cama dos animais e de estrume para fertilizar as terras.
So just to tell for our Greek colleagues, this is they are talking about, which is still done but in very small amounts, the work transporting manure. Okay, so they are kept in the small ones in places, and they produce manure, and manure goes back to the ground, goes back to the pastures, and also they transport what we call mato. Mato is actually bush, and which is this here, and it's the bed of the animals, the bed that we use for the animals. Okay, so this here.
Como exemplo destas tarefas, encontramos o transporte de matos para a cama dos animais e de estrume para fertilizar as terras, bem como o amanho das terras ao nível da lavragem, gradagem e sementeiras, entre outras funções.
So these are a part of the traditional heritage and cultural heritage. This is what we call jugo, that goes on top of their heads. And just to tell you, when the people that still do this nowadays, they are less and less. When they die because they are old, these traditions and this cultural heritage is lost. Okay. So, for example, here in our village, the guy that did this, it doesn't exist anymore. So nobody does this anymore here. Neither this, the mulher. All these are things that are traditionally used. Work.
É uma raça perfeitamente adaptada às condições agroecológicas da região de criação, tendo o seu apogeu nas primeiras décadas do século XX. Após este período, a mecanização da agricultura e o desenvolvimento da produção leiteira levaram à redução acentuada do efetivo maronês e o seu consequente acantonamento nas regiões mais montanhosas. Na atualidade, o seu efetivo ronda as 5.500 fêmeas adultas, distribuídas por 1.300 criadores, Explorada num sistema de produção amigo do ambiente e do bem-estar animal, alimenta-se da diversidade forrageira dos lameiros verdejantes e das múltiplas variedades arbustivas dos bálsamos. As crias nascem e crescem em cortes tradicionais, onde as mães pernoitam e as amamentam até aos 7, 8 meses.
So they're just talking about, the production system, which was what I've been talking earlier. Just one thing, the cubs, the small veals, they stay always indoors. Okay, the mothers sleep with them, and during the day they are out grazing either in lameiros, grazing areas, or in the mountain, as you saw. Currently, they have about 7,000 animals in 1,500 producers. Okay.
A Associação de Criadores do Maronês é uma entidade de direito privado sem fins lucrativos. Fundada em 1988 para a defesa e preservação da raça, representa hoje, praticamente, a totalidade dos criadores existentes.
So these are
As equipas de campo desempenham tarefas compostas pela identificação dos vitelos e a sua inscrição no livro de nascimento das crias, pela classificação, identificação eletrónica e inscrição no livro de adultos, pela recolha de material para análise de ADN, pelas pesagens para controle de performances produtivas e reprodutivas e pela inseminação artificial.
So just for you to know that all these procedures that we were seeing, some of them we may, what are they doing? All the calves have a mandatory legislation identification, and all the females, all the mothers have a microchip that is implanted in the rumen. So that is why they were, pushing it through the mouth, and so that these animals are always controlled, okay, from birth to slaughterhouse. Also, small animals are accompanied concerning growth, weight, to see how they are going, and genetic material is withdrawn so that we keep the genetic material of these animals and make parenting control as well. All of this is then, informative.
Ao núcleo da Secretaria Técnica cabem as tarefas de informatizar os registros recolhidos no campo, inerentes ao livro genealógico e ao Sistema Nacional de Identificação e Registro Animal, avaliação genética e a sua caracterização por análise demográfica e o apoio e aconselhamento técnico aos criadores. As funções desta associação englobam ainda a gestão dos programas de conservação e melhoramento genético da raça. Uma vez por ano, a associação promove o concurso nacional da raça maronesa, expondo os melhores exemplares e atribuindo prémios aos melhores criadores. Cabe ao agrupamento de produtores de carne maronesa, inserido na Cooperativa Agrícola de Vila Real, o trabalho administrativo de preparação dos animais para abate e a posterior comercialização das peças.
This is the second part. So we produce the animals, we need to do something with them. Okay, otherwise there's no economic revenue.
É para o matador internacional que os animais são encaminhados. Após um processo de controle rigoroso de produção, transporte, abate e desmancha, a carne é certificada pela tradição e qualidade, com a menção DOP, denominação de origem protegida.
So this meat is certified, it's a DOP, a DOP. And then of course it goes to the market.
É desta cultura agrária milenar e da união feliz da genética com a natureza que resulta uma carne com características organoléticas ímpares e um perfil nutricional perfeito. Desde restaurantes discretos e tradicionais a restaurantes galardoados com estrelas Michelin, a carne maronesa preenche imensas qualidades exclusivas, afirmando os seus padrões e paladar únicos. Sendo um produto genuinamente transmontano, com a máxima segurança alimentar e produzido com uma elevada qualidade ética, a carne maronesa representa o que de melhor se faz em Portugal.
Okay. So this is where it starts and that's where it ends. Okay. Okay. Stop. So again, I'm not a Maronese producer, so I'm not selling my product. It's just because it's a good example of, you know, and this film, although a bit long, shows everything that I was talking about. And I would stop here because only a few more pictures to show you. Some of you have already seen these when we were at, this is a pilot experience that we are doing with the same objective, but with horses here also, but in Campiègne. And we have 3 animals, 3 horses eating, you know, this, which is only bush, and managing and controlling the growth of the herb and also biodiversity. There's a close link between grazing of Maronesa and also from horses and the maintenance of these little butterflies, and, you know, linked to biodiversity. So this is something that we are also doing. Of course, technically, we do some interesting things, which is, and this was in the summertime, we were there from sunrise to sundown, just looking at them and seeing how many, every 15 minutes, we look at the animals, and this is done for all species, and we look at the animals and we see if they are eating or not, and what they are eating. And then we register here, and at the end, we end up with a map of what we call feeding behavior map. And then if we have the growth and manage to see the growth of the herbs, then we can link both. Okay, more pictures. This is goats. This is a colleague, Brazilian colleague that was here in an exchange, also like cultural, but only for between two entities, Ruralidad and her entity. And these are pictures, I've shown you some of you already. This year we managed to have the potato collection here in our house with our neighbors, and this is Tininho and Floriano, which is this here. They are the only ones here at this moment in the village that still have the knowledge to put the cows to work. And when they die, they are not young, none of them. This is completely lost, okay? So this is a part and an important part of the cultural heritage that will be lost, and it's deeply linked and embedded with animal production in this case, okay? And I'm sorry, these are my geese and my animals doing noise. So, do you have any questions, any feedbacks, any something? Was I too boring?
No, it was very nice to see the Maronesa. I have some comments, some questions. I have just heard a program from a radio, Spanish radio, called the forest inhabited, el bosque habitado. They were talking about the lands, indeed, not the soil. That is the concept, the difference between soil. It's traditionally what agriculture have care about, the components of nitrogen, oxygen, phosphato in the soil to grow. But she was saying what we see is a lot, as you have said. We can see like 100 species of vegetables in the land, but even down with, you will need one life to know and to count all the species that are beneath the ground. The biodiversity beneath the ground is incredibly diverse, complex, and rich. So I think from what I see in Extremadura, when we see Lameiro, a land occupied by sheep, for example, and when we see land occupied by cows, the landscape changes. Is the cows make more impact, I think, in the land, and probably in the beneath the ground also probably impact more than other species as sheep and cows. And another concern very important for us is the water, the use of the water, because the experience that we have in Extremadura is that many people do sondeos, like wells with machine, and uses millions of liters from the aquifers, from the underground water. So legally here, I think they have limits that are going against sustainability of water. I say it because, for example, in Tablas de Daimiel, that it's a natural national park, not in Extremadura, but in the same latitude in Ciudad Real, Castilla-La Mancha. They really, we have the tablas. Tablas is like water there, where there's a lot of birds and a very nice landscape, but they have dried it because of the wells, some declare, many others not declare, but probably all to grow vegetables that wouldn't have to be there because they are not local anyway, and to feed cattle, cows that probably have more in number that they should. I have very well understood that you have like 7,000 heads spare between 1,000 and something ganaderos, breeders. So there is a number promedium of 7 houses more or less, no, for any breeder. I think that is sustainable, maybe cabaña, but I doubt that more cows are sustainable if you have to feed them with liters and thousands of liters of water, for example. No? So I really like if Maronesas don't need that extraction from the subsoil, at least are really ecological cattle, no? But probably they impact the soil and underneath the soil more than other species. No?
The fact is that it's always a difficult balance to get. Okay, there is not only good things from these small traditional systems. Okay, this is the good. The bad is that the product is much more expensive. So this means that, for example, to get and to eat maronesa, you will have to pay a lot more, and you will not find it in your big supermarket, or you will do it in smaller supermarkets and almost a gourmet. So this is not for everybody to eat, not for every economical purse. So this is the downside, because if all animal production was with this, we would not have, everybody would not be able to eat and to have access to cattle meat. So here it is not, we do not actually yet have a big problem on water consumption, because this is mountain, and we fortunately until now, of course some years better than others, but we don't actually have, at least in our area, lack of water, and the water that we consume is not that much, precisely because we do cultural rotation, and again, this is traditional local systems. And the cattle, concerning Maronesa, they spend most of their time in the mountain. Okay, so they're not being fed. Basically, they just feed themselves most of the time. We use water in the summer to produce in those lamaters, those grazing areas, to produce hay that we feed them in the winter. Okay, and in there we use water in the summertime. But again, because we have it, and water consumption is not that big. But for example, and also here in the area, you have producers that have chosen, because of economic issues, to produce crossbred cattle, or even to produce other breeds like Limousin or Charolais, which are not local breeds, they are improved breeds for meat. The difference is that when they go to the slaughterhouse, they are bigger, and of course the breeder gets more money, and they grow faster. So basically they will produce more product in a shorter amount of time. The downside is that they will need to be fed, because we cannot have them grazing in the mountain. And for that, we will use more water, because we will have to produce more feed for them. Okay, but the economic income for the breeders is higher and faster. Okay, so it's not easy to say to the breeders, oh no, you shouldn't do that, because it's much worse, because actually for them it's much better. So you see, it is a complicated system.
Yes, but as you said it before, maybe there the European Union aid subventions may balance that, and and they can warrant a price maybe more or less equal for consumers. But anyway, we should also try to think in going back also to traditional way of consumption also, because
Yes.
the ones that had meat in their house, well, they would eat meat whenever they want, but normally
case.
in the Christian Catholic tradition, people have eaten meat once a week, once a month, or whenever they could.
It's true.
And eat fish also whenever they could. So maybe we are eating in the world too much meat, that for sure. And we have also some issues concerning ecology in our ways of
Yes.
eating.
Yes, it's true, and I agree with you. But again, on the other side, we are within a group that we are all within the same. I mean, we have the same worries, and we are alerted to that. Most meat consumption is actually in urban areas and not from local breeds. It's from burgers and pizzas and whatever. And this will not flavor local systems or local breeds or whatever. But that's another discussion. Gerardo wanted to, I think you have a question?
Yes, do you hear me? No. No?
T.
Do you hear me?
T, bad, but I hear.
Now?
Yes, better.
Okay. So it's just if you know what is the relationship between the local community and the species, the Maronesa, because it's as you said, it's very expensive, and then the local community, what they think about this species, these traditional.
Yeah, the ways,
What is
everything around.
the link
Yeah.
between these two sides?
Again, it's a difficult balance because, for example, and Martin was saying, if for local producers, having this excellent meat in their fridge is easy because they produce it, okay, and it's cheap. But so that is not actually the problem. The problem is to, all the rest that they produce, to manage to have a good economic income out of it. So the local communities, most of them, and very thrived by the association, the Producers Association, and also from some projects like Terra Maronesa that you were expected to visit when you were here, but the fog didn't let you. They try to promote this two breeders that have somehow changed from Maronesa to crossbreds or to exotic breeds because of the economic outputs. And local communities, for example, here Viramarim, they try to promote this, but it's not easy when you don't have when you cannot profit from it, or if you have a very low profit. So it's not easy. If and when this new CAP reform, they managed to put forward the so-called eco regimes, the eco regimes may make a bit of the difference here, because nowadays we think of cows and it's the worst thing in the world because cows are responsible for global warming and everything. And that is not true. They are responsible for a little bit, but they produce these ecosystem services. So they promote, when we promote biodiversity in a grazing area, we are capturing carbon from the air, okay? And this is actually not paid for the farmer. Farmers are not yet paid for this climate service that they are doing. So the new CAP, we are discussing it at the EU level, and it is trying to put this somehow forward. Not exactly know how, but they are trying to. If in a medium long term we manage to have this type of eco regimes paying or giving this support for the difference that this type of production systems give and produce, then we may manage to to find a new way to keep them. Not
so
sure.
this eco regime is some kind of strategy?
Yeah, yeah, it's a
And
strategy that it's being put forward by the EU Common Agricultural Policy to make the difference. There were discussed several ideas. The first idea that was put forward was to tax. So it was a negative thing. So if you produce cattle meat, you will be taxed because you are doing harm to the environment. So this was a very stupid way of doing things. And then after conversations, you know, let's do it the other way around. Let's support those systems that actually contribute to carbon sequestration and to carbon neutrality. And in that way, this type of traditional systems, they are, you know, on the front line, because you saw, you know, manure is putting back into the earth, and, you know, we managed to get circularity and etc. But the difficult thing is how to put a price on it. Okay.
Yes. So, but
sorry.
But there's no plan B. So.
Yeah, exactly. And there's no plan B. So
anyway,
it will happen.
In your conversations and negotiations, take always in account the water consumption, very important. Now that is also in the Wall Street market, water, this is new. And the biodiversity on and underneath the soil. So you can always defend the local breed because also they are less impacting in the soil, in the biodiversity. So it's very important to take that in account. And another very important thing is to promote workshops and knowledge in this agrarian heritage, like Yugo, and the way of working the land with cattle. So it's very important really to have someone in the community that at least can hold that knowledge for some more years and can also transfer that knowledge. So it's a very important issue for cultural. Okay, we had David from Extremadura, from Plasencia, the north of Cáceres, want to... Hello, David.
Hi,
Good morning.
hello. Yeah, I just wanna ask about what you was talking about, Martin, about how that traditional knowledge linked to these cows. How are you trying to save it or to rescue it? Or maybe if you are thinking, for example, trying to create an alliance between someone who focus on the traditional uses, like the jugo, how they use the cows to work the land, or all that things that we can see on the video you show us. And if you are doing it, what you are doing, or if you are thinking about doing it, because you were talking about, for example, you say that there were just two men that work traditionally the land, and when they die, it will disappear. So if you are doing something to rescue it, to keep it, I don't know, maybe some video tutorials to for example, in the future, someone want to do it again as it was done, if these people die, to preserve it. I don't know if I explained, but
yes,
that's more or less my question.
Thank you. Thank you, David. You explained very well, and it's a very difficult question because we tried. I remember quite a few years ago, because my oldest son was still small. We tried to learn. That was the first thing. We tried to learn, but it was very difficult because we couldn't find, I mean, the animals that we had at the time were not the ideals to learn, to be taught. And so, well, we couldn't do that. And besides that, we have only been doing image collection. So we film, we photograph, and we ask questions, and we are doing a collection of videos and films. But at this point, we are not doing anything to ensure its continuity. And that is actually something that we have already thought, but well, time goes by and we don't manage to do everything. But that it is a good, now that you are talking, I think that eventually we could maybe within the cultural, or to try and at least leave the seed for it, to have that type of approach in a near future, because it would be, it's an essential from our point of view.
Yeah,
The problem is that here we don't have, besides us, and we don't have enough time, nobody who really wants to do it and continue it. But of course we don't need to stay here, we can go a lot of places. So yes, that's a good idea.
yeah, because maybe what you have to do, I mean, you are doing a lot, so maybe you don't have to continue working on the traditional way, but just like keeping it on some way, and I don't know how, no? Maybe through cultural we can sit and think about it, or whatever. But yes, I think that's important. But I'm not saying that you have to do that work, because
No, of course.
you are doing too much for this traditional raza. I don't remember how to say. Yeah. So it just was like, I was like thinking how. So let's talk about
Yes,
it.
let's think together. Of course, that's the objective.
Thank you.
Yes, normally traditional ways are recorded in books also, because
Yeah.
probably it has been written down. Probably we find films even, or some manuals, but it's really important if we find the person that still holds the knowledge, try to engage them for some course, for some transferring, and as David says, also recording, registering very well, and trying to do some material, educational material out of it. In our region, we are thinking about clay, traditional ways of working clay, but we will be also very very aware of traditional ways of breeding, of working the land with animals also.
So now it's already 11 for you. So maybe we do a small break to stretch our legs, otherwise we go crazy, I think. And then we come back. What do you think, Martin?
Yes, thank you very much.
So maybe a 15-minute break, and then we come back.
See you back at 11.
What will happen after the break? Do we start then with work together sessions, or
yes, Philip
theory?
Yeah, Philip will join us, but I think that we will go directly to Miro. We will only talk a little bit about tenure, but we will go directly to Miro. But let's come back here, and I will put the link, because I haven't given access to everybody.
One comment. Thank you very much. It was quite interesting. I have to go. I can be the second part. Sorry, but I have analysis of the university, and I would just I would like to say that okay, then maybe with these two men that are working with you, this costume can disappear, but you can be the continuers of these traditions.
At least showing videos.
At least. No, thank you so much.
Thank you, Celia.
Sorry, but I cannot stay
Okay,
more.
don't worry. Okay, so 15 minutes and see you back.
Okay.